Across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
You know, with where we're sitting right now, obviously every game is extremely important. You know, we need to play our best baseball of the year. We have some guys out, but, you know, that's okay. We still got to play the games, and we still got to play well. We're just going to have to continue to pick each other up and come together and play great baseball. Obviously, how we play this week is going to determine a lot of what comes the next couple of weeks.
And hopefully it'll give us some confidence going into NC State, who's red hot. I think they had won 11 out of 12. I think I read somewhere. They've got a great team, and they're fighting, to put themselves in a good position going into the ACC tournament. So we got our hands full this weekend.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome back into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network on a very busy Thursday night from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and the professor Tom Hayes, all together with you once again, along with our producer. What's the problem, guys?
No, Pro doesn't have a headset.
How'd that happen? Our producer, Pat Jack Daniel. So Pro will be hooked up here in just a moment, taking his comfortable seat here in our studios.
Attention to me. You're supposed to be totally
Columbia.
Concentrating on the microphone.
Well, I just see people moving around, gestures being made,
You
eyes
have
rolling,
to stay focused.
hands up in the air.
You can't worry about those things.
World War III is not broken out yet.
They are underway in Raleigh. Clemson, NC State, top of the first, no score. Tigers and Wolfpack in a big ACC series in that Clemson is sort of sinking in the Atlantic, and NC State is rising in the Atlantic Division, having won its last two ACC series. The Tigers coming off sweeps in the ACC at the hands of Louisville and North Carolina. Meantime, in about an hour from now, South Carolina and Georgia will get underway at Founders Park, and really this is the beginning of the NCAA tournament play per se for USC. Got to win games. If they don't, they're going to stay home. It looks like stay home for the holiday, which for baseball means the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and I'm about to make my way out to Founders Park. It's not only postseason play. They don't even have the postseason margin for error where it's usually double elimination. I think it's a single elimination tournament for the Gamecocks this weekend against Georgia. And even then, when they get to Hoover, they probably have some work to do there to get to 15 SEC wins. They might need 2 to 3 wins in Hoover, so a deep run in Hoover just to get into the tournament, to go on the road and play somewhere as maybe a 3 seed. And so this is certainly the last weekend of baseball at Founders Park.
Yes,
this season for the Gamecocks, and that's got to be very disappointing for all parties concerned. My cable was acting a little goofy last night in the NBA game. I know the Celtics were playing the
Lakers were not playing as much as
I'm
your
aware
cable
of that.
wanted to have the Lakers.
I know you're obsessed with the Lakers, but I was just trying to. What happened in that
bringing
game?
up the Celtics?
That game's happening.
Who's obsessed with what?
It happened, right?
Okay.
I just want to know who won.
LeBron won.
Okay, yeah.
LeBron.
Who guarded him last night?
Nobody.
I saw highlights. They had. Get this, Tom. Guess some of the people that they had try to guard LeBron last night.
Everybody. If you had a Celtic uniform on, you tried to guard LeBron last night.
Isaiah tried. Yeah, there was a great poster shot. Isaiah Thomas is now on a poster.
Well, LeBron almost got posterized by Bradley too.
They put their centers out. They had the big men out there.
We don't have a center.
That big
Olaf.
They have Olaf out there trying to guard him.
Not out there. Olaf is not activated.
Olaf.
At least get your facts right.
Olaf.
If you're going to be critical,
who
get
is
your
the
facts
little
right.
the goofy white
you're
guy? You're
trying to make fun of the Celtics, but you know what?
Olaf. Yeah, hit Olaf. I'm going to call him
Olynyk.
Olaf.
Metal
face Olaf.
You should at least have had a team in the playoffs to make fun of a team in the finals.
But listen to this, Tom.
Okay?
So this guy's guarding LeBron.
I'm sitting right here.
LeBron turns his back to him.
It's my best Kevin Steele impersonation.
He turns his back to him.
I'm sitting right here, K-Mac. Don't talk over my head.
It was amazing. And then LeBron drives right by him, scores.
Well, LeBron's a good player, okay?
He's decent.
Got a nice future ahead of him.
So you're going to get
swept? Whatever
swept?
he chooses to do.
Are you going to get swept?
The Celtics will win game 2. Mark it down. Mark it down. They will win game 2. That series turned in the third quarter.
Oh,
Yeah. We got our mat on in the third quarter. We came out, I don't know, pansy-like, stars in our eyes. Ooh, these are the Cavaliers. Oh, look, Mama, there's LeBron. We played that way. We played like we were just caught up in the greatness of the Cavaliers and LeBron for about 2.5 quarters. Mm-hmm. But then Marcus Smart got into it, got a little physical, and things started to change. Now, we had dug ourselves too big of a hole to catch up. Celtics will win. Mark it down. You heard it here before anywhere else in the world, and probably the only place in the world right here. The Celtics will win and even this series.
Yeah.
When do they play again? Tomorrow night?
And if they
tomorrow night, 8:30.
Well, but the one thing I like about Boston, they have just enough young players that don't know the difference. What I mean by that is the other teams in the East are just sitting and biding their time till LeBron breaks down, because nobody's going through that stone wall while he's sitting there. What is it, 7 straight finals he's shooting for?
Yeah.
And it's just like when Jordan
I'll say this,
playing.
though. The Celtics make, was it Tristan Thompson?
Yes.
Look like Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, my goodness. You just got to bump a guy out. If he's just going to hang in the lane and push you around, throw a big butt into him and get him out of there.
Well, unfortunately for me, the game was getting out of hand, so I did a little channel surfing. And when I did my channel surfing, I stopped at channel 21 just in time to see Freddie Freeman's wrist break.
Yeah.
And when he got hit on that pitch, my mind instantaneously said, broken.
There could be some physical activity tonight.
I would imagine there is going to be.
He's out physical. 10 weeks, you're saying.
10 weeks.
That's how they got to get another ex-Dodger in there. What, James Loney just signed a contract with him?
A couple of recruiting notes to open up the show, and we'll give you recruiting in detail in a little bit. Mark Allstork, a little while ago, tweeted out his Final Four. South Carolina's in that Final Four. LSU, Pittsburgh, and Illinois are his Final Four. So Georgetown did not make the list of the schools that he visited, and Louisville did not make the list of the 6 schools he visited. USC, LSU, Illinois, Pitt. Interesting here, 2 SEC teams, Big Ten, an ACC team, and you've got, once again, Frank Martin going up against Brad Underwood for a player. He will announce on Saturday he's going to do it on a radio station in his hometown of Dayton. He's expecting some TV there as well. And, of course, this guy's a big social media guy. He's got the Instagram going, the Snapchat, the Twitter. So it'll be out there on Saturday.
Well,
not sure of the time.
Are you snapping with this kid, Corn? You guys exchanging snaps?
Is that what it's called?
Well, let's put our heads together here.
He acts like he doesn't know.
He's got 2 first.
I have never done Snapchat in my life.
He's got first.
You just slide into people's DMs on Twitter. That's your patented move.
Now, see, Pro's trying to talk, and you're just being rude tonight. Go on to the stadium, Leave.
I'm about to head out.
Sending
to the
you
ballpark.
on your way.
No, but think of this. Now there's
Pro, go ahead.
2 first-year coaches.
I respect you, Pro.
I will not
interrupt you.
2 first-year coaches, and Brad Underwood.
Your problem is you don't respect your elders.
And then LSU has a first-year coach, the guy from VCU. Then that leaves Kevin Stallings, who's in the same train wreck as Tubby Smith, because he's just about to run everybody off at Pitt. So it'd be interesting to see whether All-Star wants to go with a team that looks like they can make the NCAA tournament, or just want playing time, playing for 2 first-year coaches, or a team that's struggling right now.
Well, if Frank Martin gets him, then he's got his guy to plug into the spot left by Sindarius Thornwell, a big shooting guard, deep 3. And from talking to Allstork, he's a very confident young man, too. He will bring a lot of chutzpah to the USC basketball team should he come to South Carolina. Something else in recruiting, Jordan Adams tonight at 7:30, he is a wide receiver, formerly from Blythewood, now in Cary, North Carolina.
Was a quarterback at Blythewood.
Yeah, but receiver for college. He's announcing something. He just said big announcement tonight. I don't know if it means he's
going to have pizza for dinner instead of
exactly. These kids like to have a lot of fun on Twitter with their setup announcements. So we'll keep an eye on that for you as well. Full recruiting report coming up after the break. Mike Morgan on the move, an early edition because he's got a game tonight. That's coming up. Perry Orth later as well. Back in a moment. Top of the second in Raleigh, Clemson and NC State. They are scoreless in their big ACC series opener in Raleigh. And South Carolina and Georgia getting underway in about 40 minutes. All right, Clemson has just taken a 1-0 lead. Yeah, you never know. Weston Jackson, who has been struggling big time, they inserted him in the lineup against Coastal Carolina, had a nice game offensively, and now he's homered to left field to give the Tigers a 1-0 lead on NC State in the top of the second. Sometimes you just never know how it's going to go for you when you take a guy and stick him back in the lineup after sitting him down for a while. Let's welcome back into our starting lineup here on Sports Talk. Good friend Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move. He's got a big baseball series tonight. Mississippi State, LSU out in the West, two of the top teams in the SEC West, and he'll be doing that game on ESPN. Mike is brought to you by all the good folks at Play It Again Sports in Columbia, where you can find golf equipment, fitness equipment, water sports, and more. Bower Parkway in Harbison, and by Founders Federal Credit Union. Check out foundersfcu.com. Learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. All right, clear your throat. And before we talk about your baseball game, Freddie Freeman, at least 10 weeks out for the Braves. What does this mean moving forward? How do they make up for his loss? I know that's not likely going to happen, but what do they do?
They go to church and pray.
Yeah.
They don't have anything. They don't have anything available approaching the likes of Freddie Freeman. It's not a deep lineup. They've had really good performances by two guys, Freeman and Kemp, and that's kept their offense afloat. You take one of those guys out, like Freeman, who's swinging the bat as well as anybody in Major League Baseball. It's a huge loss, and it's never a good time for it, but it's really a bad time because I've never seen Freddie Freeman any hotter than what he's been. And as we all know, he's an all-star first baseman. So it's a tough blow, but the good news is he will be back at some point. And knowing Freddie, he'll pick up where he left off.
And no surgery needed. Is that correct? Because that's what you worry about, Mike, that his range of motion and that wrist could be retarded by that.
Yeah, he's had some wrist injuries in the past. Freddie's actually had a kind of a garden variety of injuries. It's really the only thing that has hampered his career at all, because he's been a great hitter from the moment he came up from Gwinnett. He had some eye issues. Had some knee issues. He's got a hand, I believe. He's just been banged up a decent amount. Obviously, this is kind of a fluke thing. It's nothing you can prevent, really. It just comes with the territory. But nothing that I've heard that would lead me to believe that it's going to be anything that's going to limit him when he does come back. You expecting payback by the Braves tonight in Toronto? I don't know. I don't know. I think a lot of that depends on the makeup of your guys and how you kind of approach that. Obviously, Batista pimped the home run, but he pimped it in a losing effort. I mean, how mad can you really be when you win the game? Toronto's been the least of their problems. So to me, Batista just embarrassed himself. So I wouldn't even be that angry about it. I would just move on. I loved what Eric O'Flaherty said. He said, he was kind of looking like he wanted to fight. And based on last year, I'm surprised he'd want to do that. If you remember, he got blasted by Odor, the middle infielder for the Rangers, when he kind of stepped up to him, and Odor just landed a Mike Tyson-like right punch that pretty much knocked Bautista's jaw off. So I wouldn't expect it, but I wouldn't be surprised by it. The thing that I hate about all of that is if there is going to be any retaliation, it better be against Batista, not somebody else. I hate seeing somebody wear one because of what some other player did. And sometimes that does happen. I heard some people suggest that, after he pimped the home run, that the Braves should have hit the next batter. Well, why? He had nothing to do with it. Yeah. That's never made sense to me. Talking with Mike Morgan on the move. Let's talk about college baseball with South Carolina, Georgia. Weekend series beginning tonight. They've issued the starting lineups, and for USC, it will be Tolbert, Rowe, Cortez in left, Bride, Destino the DH, Hopkins is in center, Grosvenor at first base,
Olsen and Wright, Taylor behind the plate, and Crow on the mound. On paper, South Carolina much superior to Georgia. I mean, Georgia basically last in the league in defense, pitching, and hitting. I mean, all three categories, they are at the bottom or down near the bottom, yet they have found a way to win their last two league series. What do you make of this weekend series?
Well, what I make is Georgia's going to come in there the way they had the last two series, loose and with nothing to lose. Their head coach, some might think he's coaching for his job, although the reports I'm hearing from people I know in Athens are that he's going to get another year. Serrano gets fired today from Tennessee, which is no surprise. I think there's going to be an interesting name list on that one, including Chris Burke and Todd Helton, two former players that might be in the hunt for that job. But if Strickland does get another year, then he's not wound too tightly. And again, they're just playing the role of spoiler at this point. They're not a great team, but they can sneak up and bite you. And as we all know, Carolina's had some problems holding leads late in games. So when you have that scenario, you can lose the series to anybody, as we've seen.
Yeah, let's look at the Gamecocks. Regular second baseman is out. First base has been a revolving door all season. Shortstop is playing with a bad hand. Center fielder is playing with a bad quad. Regular catcher, and catcher's been a revolving door as well, but regular catcher is out for the season. Friday night starter is out for the season. Closer is not what he was since being out with his arm injury, at least not of late. It's not a pretty picture in Columbia right now.
Well, no, and the old expression, when it rains it pours, it's just been that kind of year, and yet here that team still sits. And if you look at RPI and some of the metrics, if they win that series, win a game or two in Hoover, I think they still have enough to squeak into the NCAA tournament. And at this point, that's the only goal you have. I mean, you're not thinking about Omaha right about now. You're thinking about how do we get into the tournament, and it all starts. You simply cannot lose that series at home. You cannot lose. For all that Georgia has done in the last couple of weeks, they're still a terrible RPI team. A team that's, if you lose that series at home, and that would make the conference record, 3 games under 500? That would almost put you in a must-win the whole SEC tournament situation, and you don't want to be in that scenario at all. So you just got to do whatever you can, muster it up whatever you can, despite all the injuries and everything else they've had. Suck it up and at least take 2 out of 3.
All right, let's talk about your series tonight in Starkville. LSU, Mississippi State on the SEC Network. Top 2 teams in the West. LSU 18-9, 27-7 at home. Mississippi State 17-10 in the league. Terrific matchup here. What are the keys, as you see it, to who wins this series?
Well, I think the one advantage, these are clearly, we've got the best SEC race that I can recall in calling games in this league for 18 years, where you've got 4 teams that all have a legitimate shot of winning it. They just happen to be playing one another. You couldn't have drawn this up any better. State is extremely hot. They've got the best college player on the planet, Brent Rooker, who is slugging nearly 900. To put that in perspective, David Ortiz led the majors in slugging last year at 635. Brent Rooker is slugging 885. I've never seen anything quite like that in this era where you have legitimate bats. He's tremendous. Their offense is tremendous. However, I would say the one advantage, LSU's starting pitching is much better than Mississippi State's right now. Mississippi State has had so many injuries. They've got regular everyday players like a Mangum, who won the batting title last year. He's been starting games for them. They're just trying to scrounge away in games 2 and games 3 of series to find arms. Pilkington goes for them tonight. He'll be a top 5 draft pick next year. He's a tremendous starting pitcher going up against Alex Lang, who's going to be a first rounder this year. So, you couldn't ask for a better matchup overall between these two teams, but I would give a slight edge to LSU.
And being at home, I'm sorry, no, they're not at home. They're on the road where I imagine, we got to let you go, but I imagine they'll have 15, 20,000 people crammed in there each night down in Mississippi State.
They will. It'll be jam-packed. It'll be an incredible environment.
Yeah, that place can really pack them in.
And the barbecue smoke coming from the outfield.
Thank you, Mike. Have a great weekend.
Okay,
we'll
guys.
look forward to watching you on the SEC Network. Yeah, I was there when Clemson played in a super regional. And, the outfield just entirely packed with people, cars parking right outside the fence
and
there, just
sitting on the cars,
completely encircling the field with folks supporting, and those cowbells too. Ugh. We'll be right back. In Raleigh, things have turned against the Tigers in the bottom of the second inning. State has put 2 on the board against Charlie Barnes, and they're still batting with the runner on first. And they have put together some hits, stolen base, whatever the case may be. 2-1 NC State on Clemson right now. Charlie Barnes on the mound for the Tigers, giving up 2 hits, 2 earned runs. He struck out 3 and walked 1 thus far. South Carolina and Georgia getting underway about a half hour or so from now. K-Mac has left the building, ladies and gentlemen. So all of you hanging outside 1338 Main Street wanting K-Mac's autograph tonight after the show, he's left. You'll have to go meet him over at the stadium. Whether it was an autograph that you want from him or a fist that you want to apply to his jaw, you'll have to meet him over at the stadium. Whatever the case may be. Hey, he's the one that has the Twitter handle K-Mac must die or should die or will die or something like that. I don't make these things up. We'll update some other baseball for you as well. We've got, of course, with the regular seasons in various leagues coming to an end, we've got a lot of games here on this Thursday, some early starts as well. In fact, I want to get to this real quick. Coastal Carolina playing Appalachian State this afternoon, first game of their weekend series. And as soon as I can get my eyes on it, I will update that score for you. Chanticleers, despite that loss to Clemson the other day, playing very good baseball, and they have defeated Appalachian State 5-0. So a big win for Coastal Carolina, 35-18, 20-7 in the Sun Belt. So I think they're going to get in regardless of what happens the rest of the way. Defending national champion, 20 wins in a league that's a better league than they were in, 35 wins overall. Of course, they've got some quality wins as well mixed in there. Got off to a sluggish start this year. Wasn't the best of starts, but they've really picked it up here down the latter part of the season. So a good win for Coastal Carolina this afternoon. Clemson and NC State, they're going to the third. State is up 2-1. Recruiting coming up for you in a few minutes. Stay tuned for that. We've already given you the update on Mark Allstork. I'll give you more news coming up a little bit later on. Let's talk some football. Let's talk quarterbacking. Let's talk quarterback camping with Sports Talk's new best friend, former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orth. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Pretty good, guys. How about yourself?
We are doing just fine. Good to have you with us. Perry, of course, is now running quarterback camp, quarterback development under the name of QB1 Athletics. And you are joining forces with a familiar name in Gamecock lore, Stephen Garcia, the Garcia Passing Agency. I know he wanted to be in the FBI at one time, but I guess a passing agency is about as close as he's going to get to any kind of an agency.
They have an opening right now.
Yeah. Tell us about what you guys have coming up.
So me and Steven teamed up. You know, you guys are laughing at it, but he's making a killing and just crushing it down there in Tampa. He's got multiple kids signing Division I, getting Division I scholarships. He is absolutely training kids the right way, training kids what it's like to actually play and real live competition, not some of these other quarterback coaches drills where I see kids going through slow motion and just kind of, fiddling through footwork drills, and I ain't going to get any better. And I see him out there crushing kids just like what I tried to do. But what we're trying to do, me and Steven together, are we're having a 2-day camp, and we're having 2 of them. We're having one down in Charleston at Somerville High on June 7th and 8th. And then we're having one at Hammond in Columbia on the 9th and 10th. And both of those camps are from 10 to 4. Both days we're going to have 7 hours of on-field instruction. 3 hours we're taking the kids in the classroom. In the film room, we're going to show them how to diagnose coverages and try to teach them how to read defenses at the most basic level possible. And then for lunch, we're going to have about an hour segment where lunch will be provided. And during that time, me and Steven we're going to talk a little bit of recruiting advice and kind of some of what to do and what not to do as a person on and off the field. And I think me and Steven are going to do an awesome job with that, kind of getting both ends of the spectrum of our college careers. And so, yeah, I mean, we're expecting a huge turnout. We've already got, over 15 kids signed up in both locations. So we're expecting an absolute awesome turnout. Kids around the state, man, they love working and they love the Gamecocks. And fortunately, that's helped me so far with what I've been doing with QB1 athletics. And it's just been incredible just be able to pour into these kids' lives to help them try to achieve their dreams, whatever level of competition they may want to play at.
Yeah.
And so, it's just been an awesome ride. I've been doing it for about almost 4 months now. So me and Steven are trying to make this the premier camp in the state of South Carolina. Hopefully maybe down the road this summer, maybe next year hit Greenville, do the same thing, Columbia and Charleston, maybe hit Charlotte too, and that Myrtle Beach area. So we're expecting big things from it. We're excited.
That's great. That's great. Now we're not making fun of Steven by any means. Respect Steven tremendously as a football player. But, when you talk about Steven Garcia and his time at South Carolina, what comes to mind, unfortunately for him, some of the antics off the field and the way it ended kind of overshadowed what a terrific talent he was at quarterback, both in terms of his arm, his running ability, and his toughness. And so that's why when you talk about Steven, those things do flash into your mind. But we always understand that he was a terrific talent at quarterback. What about the way you two will work together as teachers? How will you be the same in terms of what you instruct your students, or how will you be different?
So I'm actually working with a kid living up here in Greenville now full time. I'm working with an athlete or a quarterback who has trained with Steven in the past, and I asked him, what are some similarities, what are some differences? And he said, man, y'all are really, really similar in what you do, just because the way you train, it's such a high tempo workout. I mean, it's an upbeat, nonstop. When you're going to get a workout, I usually do about 1 hour sessions. And my goal is to get the kids absolutely dead tired after the lesson. Because if you can't train that way, when it comes time to a game, the game's going to it's going to terrorize you. But if you can get to the point where playing in the game is, what you've been used to training all summer, all spring, it just helps kids help me play at that level. And I know it's helped some of the kids now hearing about how they've performed throughout spring practice. And it's nonstop. Obviously, you want to throw with proper form, but it's about moving fast, getting balanced and aligned to your target, and making accurate passes more than anything. And that's something me and Steven can take away from what Coach Mangus and Coach Spurrier taught us. And now we're trying to relay that message to the younger kids.
We look at a lot of the camps and the teaching, and they like to highlight, when you look at it with film packages, you look at footwork, keeping the ball high, but I don't see a lot of them talk about pace, when to gun it, when to take a little bit off. Do y'all have time to teach how to deal with the pace and what in a route tree, and how much pace you put on each throw?
Yeah, I think as we throw, so each portion or each day of camp, we're going to have a period where we throw routes to the receivers. And as you do that, that's when you teach based off of how you need to throw, what kind of ball you need to throw. When you're throwing that seam ball, you want to have that two ball right over the backer's head in between the linebacker. And, if he's running a 5-yard slant, he's going to be 10 yards in front of you. You don't need to throw it a million miles an hour. You need to put some heat on it to get it there, but you don't need to kill the receiver. Now, when you're throwing a comeback, a deep comeback, or a deep out route, that's when you go ahead and turn it loose, or throwing a deeper curl route. But, there's always a time and a place for the way you need to throw the football. So to answer your question, yes, we will be going over every little detail that we possibly could of how to play the position, because Steven was one of the best in the country when he was playing and was doing what he was supposed to do. And then
let me jump in, Perry. Can you hang on for just a minute?
Yeah.
Good. We'll come back to you and talk a little bit more, visiting with Perry Orth here on Sports Talk. we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. Quick update from Raleigh. Clemson had a threat going in the top of the third, didn't score. NC State still up on the Tigers 2-1. Bottom of 3. Recruiting coming up. We'll also update the AT&T Byron Nelson for you, give you more baseball scores from the SEC and the ACC, but a couple more minutes with Perry Orth. And if you're interested, if you're a quarterback out there or a parent of a quarterback and you want to get some terrific on-hands, in-your-face training, the Gyration Station Quarterback Mini Camp presented by QB1 Athletics and Garcia Passing Agency. How do folks get signed up for this? Go to a website. Is that the best way?
So if you guys go to QB1athletics.com, it's Q, the letter Q, letter B, and the number 1, athletics.com, all one word. If you go on there, as soon as you go onto the homepage, you'll see the link to the camp. Has a detailed description of what we're trying to do, the times that we'll be there, where we'll be. We want to have quarterbacks of all ages, anywhere from elementary school all the way through high school. And it's going to be a great opportunity for kids to come learn and really compete with a lot of other good kids around South Carolina. You know, I'm going down to Charleston this weekend to do some training, and I'll be in Columbia as well. We got a few big time names coming out. We got in Charleston, Darius Douglas will be there training with me, the new preferred walk-on at South Carolina. Kerryon Joyner coming out. Me and him have been talking over the last month or so about getting to start working together and kind of helping him with his, with some of his mechanics and stuff. Nothing with recruiting whatsoever, just trying to help him play to the best of his abilities that he can.
Well, he's already made his decision, so you can't influence him one way or another. He's already done that. But let me ask you about that. What is your impression of him from what you know and have seen as a quarterback? I mean, he got invited to the Elite 11 finals out in California. He had one of the highest spark ratings of any of the quarterbacks to go through their competition in their various regionals around the country. He graded out very highly, yet there are people who have seen him who still question his ability as a passing quarterback.
I've watched his tape. I think that he has an absolute cannon on him, and he can run. I want to clean up some pocket mechanics of the way to, move and to know the difference between a threat and actual pressure, or if it's just, you're getting tight squeezed in the pocket. And I think that's something I could help him with. But based off of pure ability at the high school level, I mean, somebody was at the Elite 11 that I know and trained that he was there and said he hands down outperformed Trevor Lawrence, and wasn't even a competition.
Careful.
That's what I heard. This is what I heard from a third party.
Yeah.
So,
have you seen Trevor Lawrence? Have you seen him in person or seen his tape?
I actually have not. I've seen him. I see that he's a big kid. I have not seen his tape. I mean, I've seen him throw. It looks like he's a big time talent. I mean, he's got all the rankings and the stars for a reason. I'm sure I'll eventually come across his tape or something like that. But I really liked watching Kerryon. I'm excited to work with him and excited to hopefully see him in the Garnet and Black.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. There was a story out last day or two from a football website, Pro Football Focus, I think it was. It was somebody, football expert kind of type of person who wrote something like Jake Bentley, the quarterbacks in the SEC, is the best deep threat in the SEC this coming year. What do you think of that impression of him from what you obviously saw in person and what you know? Do you think he has the best deep ball in the SEC coming back with the quarterbacks around the league?
I think he throws an incredible ball. I don't know the rest of the kids. I saw that actually percentage-wise. As of last year, yes, from the returning quarterbacks, he definitely was the most accurate on his deep balls. I think he's an incredible talent, a kid that I believe is going to play the game for a long time, and I'm excited to watch and see how our offense grows and develops over the next few years.
If he came to you in one of your camps and said, "Hey, Perry, give me some tips," and you've seen him a lot, obviously behind the scenes, what is there anything you could say that you would advise him about? that you would work with him on?
I mean, no. I mean, there were things last year that we used to bounce off each other back and forth. To be honest, not really. I think I'd have to really study. But all quarterbacks can improve footwork, can improve, accuracy, can improve velocity. There's a lot of things that you can always improve on. But for him, he's just a kid who's just a flat-out gamer. Once he gets out there, his adrenaline gets going. He plays to a whole new level, and I'm really, really excited to to see him perform over the next few years. Great friend of mine, is an awesome guy, comes from a great family.
Yeah,
it's hard not to root for guys like that.
All right, so once again, your camp coming up with Steven Garcia, June 7th and 8th, Somerville High School, and then June 9th and 10th at Hammond. Now, when you're at Somerville, and you're out there working, if Coach McKissick comes wandering over and wants to give some advice, you going to let him talk?
Absolutely. I'd love to have the opportunity have him come out, say a few words, maybe during our lunch period, and I'm all ears, man. I'm only 24 years old. I could learn a lot of things from a coach of that stature.
Yeah, he's only won like over 600 games or won over 600 games. Winningest coach in the history of football in the world. Pretty cool. Yeah. Nobody's ever. Now, when you're at Hammond on June 9th and 10th, and we were wondering if Marcus Lattimore wanted to come over from Heathwood and say something. You going to let that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have Marcus and Coach Kimry come out. Eric's a fellow Gamecock, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to train at his camp or out at his facility.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to maybe try to get Dylan down there, maybe see what Connor Sheen's got going on. I mean, we've all stayed in touch over the years. I think it's been a really cool deal to be able to keep in touch with all those guys. Awesome guys, learned a lot from them, and excited to continue to do stuff like this without them, I guess the rest of our lives moving forward.
There you go. All right, so go to the website, QB1 Athletics, sign up. And if you would, let's get together in June after these camps and talk about some of the guys you worked with and how they are developing.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on again.
Anytime, Perry. Thank you, man.
Yep.
Perry Orth, former Gamecock quarterback, making a name for himself in the business world with his camps. QB1 Athletics teaming up with Steven Garcia Passing Agency.
They said that they asked Eric Kimry what he wanted to teach, and he said he'd
fade.
Teach him how to throw the fade.
Well, if he did nothing in his days at South Carolina, he did that against Mississippi State one Saturday afternoon in Columbia. All right, guess who just homered? Have a beer, Tiger fans. Have a beer. Seth Beer homers to right center, solo shot, 2-2. So, and by the way, Beer has been named one of the 25 semifinalists for the Hauser Trophy. That gives him 14 homers and 48 RBIs. State has a player who has 16 homers on the season. Who is that? That is Joe Denand. He's batting .285 going into this game. 16 homers, 47 RBIs, slugging percentage of .631.
See, if you're a pitcher and you give up a home run to Beer, you don't mind it being a solo shot. It's those grand slams and 3-run jacks that kind of haunt you.
Tigers are still batting in the top of the fourth. They have a runner on second with one out, so they're trying to get back on top. USC and Georgia coming up in a few minutes. We'll be following that closely. Recruiting coming up for you as well. Let me give you some other baseball scores in the ACC. Boston College has defeated Notre Dame 6-2. Duke with a 2-0 lead on North Carolina in the third. Pittsburgh leads Wake Forest 2-0 in the second. Georgia Tech leads Virginia 3-1 in the second. Florida State 1-0 on Louisville in the second. All the ranked teams are losing in those particular games. We'll check the SEC scoreboard as well when we come back here on Sports Talk.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Boy, Clemson had a chance to blow things open a little bit in Raleigh. Bases loaded and 2 outs, and deep fly ball to center field off the bat of Wilkie, who's having to catch tonight for the Tigers. It was run down by the center fielder, made a nice play, turning his back more or less, running away from home plate toward the wall, made a running catch out there to save it for NC State and get the Tigers out with the bases loaded. So it's 2-2 there. USC and Georgia now underway in Columbia, top of the first, and first 2 men are out for Georgia. In the last home appearance for Will Crow for USC, who will go down as one of the better pitchers to come through USC. You look at his overall career, coming back from Tommy John surgery and going into tonight's game with a record of 5-4 and a 3.50 ERA and 72 strikeouts against 27 walks. That's a good ratio. Teams are batting .249 against him, and they need a big outing from him. They need their starters to go deep. They need to preserve their bullpen as best as possible. With the absence of Clark Schmidt, it's left the Gamecocks very short-handed for their third start on Saturday. After Adam Hill starts on Friday, it's basically all hands on deck on Saturday. So you can't afford to burn up a bunch of your bullpen in the games on Thursday and Friday if you expect to try to win a series on Saturday if you split those first 2 games. They're going to the bottom of the first, no score between USC and Georgia. Only other game underway in the SEC this afternoon, Missouri and Tennessee, and they are scoreless in Knoxville in the top of the 5th. Well, I take that back. Kentucky and Florida, big series there in Gainesville. This could be, I don't know what the bracket's going to look like. This could very well be a preview of an SEC tournament championship matchup. They are scoreless in the top of the first inning in Gainesville. And that is it for games in the SEC right now. Let me do Byron Nelson here, and then I'll get to recruiting. Want to update what's happening on the PGA Tour. The stop this week back out in Texas for the ATT Byron Nelson Invitational, or is it Classic? Whatever, the AT&T Byron Nelson. James Hahn and Ricky Barnes, your leaders after 6 under 64s today. Matt Kuchar, Jonathan Vegas, Jason Kokrak. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Maybe it's Kokrak. Jason Kokrak. Cameron Tringale. Ryan Armour. They're all at 4 under par. Tringale, I'm sorry, that's Tringali. Cameron Tringali. I know that. Cameron Tringali, Ryan Armour, they're still on the course at 4 under. As far as our local guys, give me a second and I'll tell you how some of those guys are doing. I think Dustin Johnson had a pretty good day today. I saw him up on the local leaderboard a moment ago before my leaderboard decided to refresh and shut down on me. Technology is a wonderful thing when it works. Is it not, Pro?
It is.
And when it doesn't work, it's kind of painful. I'll get back to that. Let me go ahead and do recruiting as I'm waiting for my leaderboard to refresh. It's taking its sweet time. So I'll do recruiting here for you on Sports Talk. Let's begin with football, where defensive back J.C. Horn of Alpharetta, Georgia, now has USC the top of his list, replacing his former favorite, Alabama. He also has Tennessee, Auburn, Ohio State, Wake Forest, and Ole Miss on his short list. He'll be an early graduate. He's not sure when he'll make his decision. He said a solid relationship with Will Muschamp and Travaris Robinson pushed the Gamecocks past Nick Saban and company. He just feels very, very comfortable, very close to those guys, and they've been recruiting him for a long time and recruiting him very hard. He said nothing really happened with Alabama for it to be demoted. He just feels more comfortable with the Gamecock coaches right now. Coming up, he has an appearance at the opening. He might attend the upcoming Rivals 5-Star Challenge. Woo! He is going to visit. I mean, come on.
They don't have the closing? If the
opening
is in Oregon,
they got
the
closing, they got the challenge, they got your 3-stripe, your 5-star, your whatever we can get your money from challenge. I got something more to share with you about this kind of stuff coming up. I swore to myself I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
He's going to visit Tennessee June 17th and Wake Forest June 28th. He plans to return visit to USC this summer. All the favorites have been out to see him this spring. The Gamecocks were there last week and on Tuesday of this week. Also, though, worth noting, Clemson is now getting involved. Brent Venables was in yesterday to check on Horn. Things are starting to brew there. They're just starting to communicate. He said they just talked back and forth. He said it could develop into a big thing because they are the number one school in the nation, as he put it. So you have to show interest if the national champions are showing interest, he said. He said they like his size. They checked out some film, like his ball skills, but they have not yet offered. Let's see. USC and Clemson did not make the top 3 with running back Master Teague III of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I think we had this last night when he announced it yesterday. Yeah. Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, his final 3. Linebacker Rosendo Lewis of Deerfield Beach, Florida, has USC in his top 7. Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Miami, Arkansas, Oregon, LSU on his short list. No commitment is imminent from him. Running back Jayshon Corbin, Melbourne, Florida, decommitted from Tennessee, has a USC offer and interest from Clemson. USC target defensive back Trey Dean, Hampton, Georgia, was offered by NC State. Defensive end Dorian Gerald of College of the Canyons Junior College in California and from Florence, and a USC target was offered by Texas A&M, and Utah also recently offered. USC offered 2019 running back Steele Chambers. This has got to be one of the great names out there in high school football. Steele Chambers of Roswell, Georgia. Other offers are Iowa State, Michigan, Michigan State, North Carolina. Wilson defensive back Zion Keith offered by Old Dominion. He's a Wake Forest commitment. Receiver Jordan Adams of Cary, North Carolina, announcing something tonight. Don't know if he's announcing, as K-Mac suggested, what he's having for dinner tonight, or if he's announcing a short list or announcing a commitment. You know, his father is an assistant coach at North Carolina. Clemson is in the mix with him, so we'll see what happens there. Defensive back DeMarvion Overshone of ARP, Texas, released a top 15. Well, I know I should, as the commissioner of recruiting, self-nominated and self-hired, as the commissioner of recruiting, I should pronounce a rule that says you cannot announce anything on Twitter more than a top 5. I mean, a top 7, top 15, not allowed. Do people think I should be the commissioner of recruiting, those who follow recruiting?
If you want the headaches involved, yes.
You wouldn't like me very much with the rules I would set down.
Well, I would set
make.
down tougher rules.
Oh, yeah.
3. A kid.
Well, hurry up. I got to finish recruiting. Hang on. Let me finish recruiting and you can talk about it on the other end. I got something else to say. Defensive back DeMarvion Overshone of ARP, Texas. His 15, Clemson, Texas A&M, Auburn, Baylor, Florida State, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Florida, Oklahoma State, Ohio State, Stanford, LSU, Alabama, Texas, and TCU. I'm sorry. In basketball, Mark Allstork, who visited LSU and then Louisville yesterday, LSU a couple of days before that. You heard us earlier. He's down to USC, Pittsburgh, Illinois, and LSU as his final 4. He'll announce his decision, local radio in his hometown of Dayton on Saturday, time to be determined. Up in the air over the final 4 in terms of a favorite, still working things out along those lines. He likes all the schools on his list, and I'll give you more information on him, plus C.J. Bryce and more coming up. NC State has gone to its bullpen. I don't know if their starter was on a pitch count or what. Piedmont was the starter. He went 4 innings. He threw 61 pitches. He comes out of a 2-2 game. They're in the top of the 5th. Charlie Barnes is pitching for Clemson. He remains on the bump for the Tigers through 4 innings. He has thrown 68 pitches, but he has struck out 8 in 4 innings. So he has certainly been in control, except for the 3 hits and the 2 earned runs he's given up. 2-2, Clemson, NC State, top of the 5th. USC and Georgia scoreless as they go to the top of the 2nd. Georgia with a runner on first. Let me continue with tonight's award-winning recruiting report. This is a recruiting report that not only has won a Pulitzer Prize, it has won a Nobel Prize for peace, because recruiting brings peace to the world.
What it is?
Yes. Nobody fights over recruiting. So anyway, All Stork says it's going to be a hard decision for him. He likes all the schools, and he tweeted out his final. He was going to do 3. He did 4 today. And so we'll find out on Saturday what he's going to do. Meantime, 6'5", UNC Wilmington transfer C.J. Bryce wrapped up his official to USC last night. He's also been to NC State officially. That's where his former coach at Wilmington is the head coach. And he has several other schools like Gonzaga, Virginia, Georgetown, Miami, Pitt, and Maryland he's been hearing from, but no other visits are planned. And today started a dead period that lasts through the 28th. And so he's going to take a little break, step back, evaluate things. He really likes South Carolina, really likes Frank Martin. Frank Martin must be an excellent recruiter. I think the same guy that you see on the bench and you see him in various interviews and stuff is the same guy that you get in the living room and in the recruiting process. The guys just speak very, very highly of him. And the fact that he's coming off a Final Four trip certainly elevated his Q factor. He said he met with Martin and the assistants, liked them all. He also met with Corey Holden, who he knows, having played against him when he was at Delaware. And he also knows Rakeem Felder from his AAU days. So there's some familiarity there. Going to continue to weigh his options. And he wants to enroll in his new school for the second session of summer school. He lives in Charlotte and attended North Mecklenburg High School. Last night, former Dreer star Tevin Mack, who played 2 seasons at Texas, announced he'll transfer to Alabama. 6'7" Kalu Azipke of Sewanee, Georgia, was at Clemson and Furman yesterday. Okay, that's all I have about that. Now, Georgia first and second, 1 out against the Gamecocks in the top of the 2nd. So now, you were going to say something about your 3 recruiting rules?
No, I have one hard and fast rule.
I thought you said 3.
No, you boiled it down to 3 schools.
3 schools.
That's all you should have been looking at.
Oh, I got you.
3 schools. That
at the very end of the day.
Yeah, all this 15 and stuff. There's no way in the world, man. First of all, you need to decide if mileage is a factor. You want your parents to see you play or whatever. If that's out the woods, then you can think of distance. Then once you do that, you need to be thinking about at least 3 majors you might want to major in. Look at each of the 3 schools you line up. See what the majors, do they have the majors you want? So
none of that matters. I'm sorry. You and I are of a different era. Today's kid cares about really one thing I hear the most: playing time. How quickly can I get on the field? How quickly can I get on the court? If I happen to get an education along the way in my 3 years at the school, which is about, all these kids think they're only going to be there 3 years. If I happen to get some sort of an education, if I learn how to spell my name and how to
get
add
your degree
figures,
in 3 years, then
yeah, some can.
Yeah,
those are the exception. Those are good. Look, those are dedicated students who have the discipline, the background, and the desire to get it done. We're rushing these kids through. Now we're recruiting kids, in the 7th grade, 8th grade. I just heard an interview with Mark Richt, who just decried the new rules. He hates them. The idea of official visits
in the spring,
in April, May, and June. So he says you're going to have official visits in April, May, June, September, October, November, December, January. And he said it makes no sense. And I agree with him 100%. Mm-hmm. People have pushed this issue and they've made a bad plan. And he's like, when you have an official visit, it's more than just the football coach and the player and his family.
Correct.
You got academic people have to be around. Strength people have to be around, because that's what an official visit is. You see all the different aspects of the university. So now you're going to ask people to be around in June and May when school is out to assist in official visits. On top of that, for those who take the official visits in those months, you can't sign until December. So you've burned whatever official visits you want to take then. You still have to sit on it in terms of making it official until December. If you're going to have official visits in the spring, it stands to reason. Common sense, which the NCAA has very little of, and these are supposed to be very bright people, and they're not when it comes to this, it stands to reason you'd have a signing period right after the official visit period. So guys who want to go ahead and sign early, fresh in their mind off their visits, can sign.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing that I swore I wasn't going to bring up, but I can't stick to my self-promises. I'm not going to mention a name or anything like that. I don't care to get anything personal. I just ran across this by accident. This just struck me as just, and again, we're from a different time and a different era than the internet people are. And I just think this is, if I'm reading this correctly, I just think this is a bad sign for.
I always thought I was ahead of my time.
Well, I think I like to think I am as well. I mean, I think I was one of the first to talk about what I saw as the danger of television moving in on high school sports, and we're seeing that more and more. Remember when they first started doing one high school game a week, and I said, look out, now that it's started, it's going to grow uncontrollably, and sure enough, it has.
Yeah.
And I see no value in televising high school sports except for the people who are selling the advertising and making the money off
like
of it.
The high school playoffs televised, the championship games, when they have all the championship games.
Yeah, maybe so.
I like that.
But anyway, I ran across this in checking on a player on Twitter, and it led me to this particular individual. I'm not going to name him, except to say that a part of his information on his Twitter page is that he is a college football writer covering an SEC school for Rivals. But as part of his bio, it says he runs this organization, and it says high school football prospects with marketing to colleges. High school football prospects, assisting high school football prospects with marketing to colleges. Now, you see where we're going here and why I found this to be disturbing a little bit? We're talking about marketing high school players to colleges. Now, some will say, I don't know if that's the case here.
This guy's last name in Ball, is it? No, that's somebody else. I'm sorry.
I don't know if we're talking about it, if this is a guy that is trying to help for some reason, a kid who is a lower level kid and he's trying to get a scholarship to a Division II or III program. If that's what they're talking about here, I see on his particular page that the SEC school that he apparently covers Rivals for, he seems to have an affection for that school more than just being a writer. Seems to be more of a fan sort of thing. But my question here, and what caught my eye, assisting high school prospects with marketing to colleges. Is that where we're headed now in recruiting and coming out of high school? We're going to market kids to colleges. Do colleges need help learning about kids and finding out about kids?
And more and more.
And do you charge for this?
Yeah, more and more people are looking all at the sizzle and not the steak.
I find this very interesting and a little disturbing. Back in a moment. not a good moment for USC in the top of the second. Georgia scores 4 runs on the Gamecocks in a variety of ways.
First and third and the death.
Let's see. Single to right, single to center, single to right to load the bases with 2 outs, bases loaded. An infield single scored 1. Then a double scored 2. And then a pass ball scored another.
There we go.
Infield single scores 1, pass ball scores 1. That's just the way it's been for South Carolina. They're down 4-0, and with their putrid offense, that may be too much. That may be too much to overcome. So there's a long way to go.
Because they had that with Liberty too, fell down 6-1.
Yeah, but that's Liberty. This is Georgia.
Well, Liberty's a good team though. Liberty, people would argue Liberty's better than Georgia.
Crow has gone 2 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned. He has struck out 2 to this point in time. Gamecocks down 4-0. Meantime, in Raleigh, it's 2-2, top of the 6th. Game's moving along.
Yeah, really.
2-2, top of the 6th. 2-5-0 for Clemson. 2-4-0 for NC State. I want to go back to what I was talking about as we hit the break. This individual is a former football player in the SEC for the school for which he covers. And so he's gone off in this direction, which is fine. I don't want to – I mean, it's fine to have a career and do something. I'm just wondering about the marketing to colleges sort of thing. And, he's got – apparently he has high school prospects that he trains, works under his hashtag or however you want to, under his banner.
Under his tutelage.
Yeah, he trains them.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess part of the deal is he promotes you or markets you in some form or fashion. Now, whatever that means, does that mean just going on Twitter and saying, yeah, this guy, boy, he's fantastic. He can do this, do that, do that, do this. Or, is there a fee involved? Is he?
It's a fee involved. He sounds like a flesh peddler. That's what it is.
Well, I don't want to go that.
I'll go there.
Accusatory. I don't want to go that deep, but I'm just pointing out that here's somebody who is part of his deal is marketing to colleges, which that worries me a little bit. But then again, maybe that's where it's all headed in the recruiting game.
Well, I don't see how you market because, if I'm there, hey, you got a great marketing plan here. And then Muschamp walks in. Yeah, but your guy doesn't hit. I've seen his film.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say is the game film markets for the good coaches. The game film is all the marketing they need when they're looking for a player. They don't need somebody to try to give them a sizzle, or they don't.
All right. Okay, here's the news from Jordan Adams. Okay. Jordan Adams, he is
going to the prom. No.
Well, I'm sure he is. He is down to Clemson and North Carolina and will announce his commitment at the opening. And no interviews, please. I love the way they do that. So this is part of the problem that's happening with these high school kids now. High school kids are becoming snooty with the media.
No interviews.
These top elite kids are becoming snooty with the media. People might wonder, you look at the coverage that I do, and there's a lot more South Carolina stories than there are Clemson stories. Well, there's 2 reasons for that. Right now, I'm talking about this particular year. It's not lack of effort, believe me. Number 1, South Carolina's offered about 10 times more players than Clemson has. I mean, the Gamecocks have offered over 200 players for the 2018 class alone. And so you follow up with those and do their stories. Clemson's offered a lot less. They have fewer spots to give. But the other thing is, Clemson is recruiting, for the most part, the national elite kids. And many of those, unless they're in the state of South Carolina and happen to know you, many of those, unless you catch them in person at their school or you go to one of these silly combines or something and you wait for them outside after they're done, you can't get them. They don't take a phone call. Mm-hmm. They don't want to, to them, it's a waste of time. They'd rather just deal with, maybe somebody locally, which I understand, or perhaps their favorite recruiting network, which is fine. I understand that. But the point is, they're hard to reach. They're hard to get communication with.
You don't think
from where I sit.
You don't think anybody put the scarlet letter on you, do you?
I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Don't talk to that man.
No, I don't know. They don't know me that well to do that. Believe me, I don't think that's the case at all. But again, that's another thing that these kids have just gotten jaded. They've just gotten jaded, a lot of them. No interviews, please.
Well, you think about you can go way back to when Louisville recruited Purvis Ellison, and a lot of people didn't know who this kid was. Then suddenly, he had that demeanor, what they call a never nervous Purvis.
Mm-hmm.
And his parents said that they thought that kid had talent, but we weren't going to, and we're talking, almost 30-something years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we're not going to take him to all these camps, which they started developing back then, because he said, we don't need all that nonsense. Let him look at the schools he wants to visit. And then we'll go from there. And of course, Denny Crum recruited him to Louisville. But some of these kids get desperate, and they got to have all these schools after them. It's almost like the old, what was the fairy tale, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And they always have to be told how good they are for whatever reason.
Jordan Adams. Now look at the position he's in. You got Clemson and you got North Carolina. You used to live in South Carolina, of course, when his dad was coaching at South Carolina. Your dad is defensive line coach at North Carolina. He's in his first year there.
After moving from ECU.
Right.
Okay.
And, you're a national prospect. You're a difference maker, apparently. You're a guy that you played quarterback in high school. You're seen as a receiver in college. Tremendous talent. You could really help your dad's career if you go to his school. Don't you think? In a lot of ways. I mean, you're living there. Dad's living there. You've made it known it's down to your dad's school and Clemson. You can make life a heck of a lot easier for everybody involved if you go to North Carolina. But then again, Clemson was recruiting you when you were in South Carolina. Clemson's got great quarterbacks, apparently, coming through the program. They're going to throw the ball a lot. They produce a lot of NFL wide receivers, much more than North Carolina. It's, Clemson's a football school. North Carolina is not and never will be. I mean, they like their football and they like to win, but they don't live and die. Clemson lives and dies and buries and
eats football.
Everything. Everything in the cycle of life they have for Clemson football. So, I mean, that's a tough position to be in for a teenager.
No,
I would think,
Well, isn't he a good
and he's a very good baseball player.
That's
too.
what I'm about to say.
He's also a big-time baseball player.
Whose school is selling them, we got the best schedule here if you want to play both?
Well, both baseball programs are top-notch.
Yeah, I know. But who gives them the best spiel about we're going to take care of you if you play both sports?
I have yet to see in recent years a two-sport athlete, and I'm sure maybe there's been some, I just haven't seen it.
Skeets Thomas was the last one here, wasn't he? Played baseball and football also.
Right, but he was marginal. Well, I guess he was pretty good in both, but name me one who's been able to pull it off in both sports at a high level.
Other than Bo Jackson.
Yeah, Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, but I mean, I'm talking about between Carolina and Clemson, who's had a football, baseball player successfully pull that off. Baseball in particular. I mean,
the quarterback,
at that level,
Clemson's quarterback that looked good in the baseball uniform.
I guess Kyle Parker might have been the last one. Yeah. All right, we'll be right back. Clemson had a chance in the 6th to go on top, but could not break through. 2-2, they go to the bottom of the 6th. NC State's got a runner on first. USC down to Georgia, 4-0. They're in the bottom of the 3rd. Gamecocks have not gotten a hit yet in this one. On the mound for Georgia is Gist, and through 2 innings, he has struck out 3. Not allowed a hit. He's got 3 strikeouts and 3 ground ball outs for his 6 outs so far. By the way, in case you're wondering about Jordan Adams and when he might announce the waste of time opening begins on June 28th and runs through July 3rd, I think it is. So can you tell I'm just not a fan of these things? Not that anybody cares about my opinion on that. It's my personal opinion. I just don't see, except for, I don't know, I guess kids like the idea of competing in these drills against one another. And if it was just for that reason, head-to-head competition, fine and dandy. But I just think it's another way that the recruiting networks prostitute their product by hanging the threat of a star rating over these guys' heads. These kids are now under the perception that they've got to have a star rating, that they've got to go out and prove themselves to get this 3rd star, 4th star. For some reason, they think it's important, and it's not. It is not important at all to have a star rating in terms of getting a college scholarship. It means nothing. A good example is Zamir White. Now, that kid, he doesn't do interviews either. That's fine. But he doesn't go to these camps. He doesn't participate. He doesn't care to. And you know what? He's still the #1 running back prospect in the country based on what he has done on his football field in his spring practice and what he does on the track. He's also a track athlete. Doesn't need it. And, I don't see the value in it.
Well, we
cost these kids money to travel to all these places. Who do you think pays for it? Well, they have to pay for it. Mom and dad have to.
See,
some reason, mom and dad think it's important. My advice to them is you don't need it.
When I saw the first opening, I figured it out because
selling Nike products. It's right there on Nike's campus.
My point. When Oregon was starting to really become a power out west, there's not a big reservoir of talent anywhere near Eugene, Oregon. Mm-hmm. So what did they do? They figured out a way to bring all the talent out to Oregon. See how nice it is here in the Pacific Northwest? If only a few of you just stay around and go to Oregon. And of course, because it's a really international city, a lot of kids came from Los Angeles and Washington. When Don James had it rolled in there, he would siphon a lot of talent from Southern California and bring them to Seattle. But Seattle and Eugene are like night and day. You know, one is just a college town and the other was an international city.
Sure.
With one of the top universities in the country. But that's how I thought Oregon and Phil Knight got the players to come to Oregon through the opening.
All right. Let me update the AT&T Byron Nelson. I was going to do the local guys. We did the top of the leaderboard. That hasn't changed. James Hahn, Ricky Barnes share the lead at 6 under 64. Locals, Dustin Johnson, 3 under 67. Scott Brown, 1 over 71. Sam Saunders is playing the last hole. He's 1 over. Russell Henley is +6, 76. Mark Anderson, 7 over as he plays the last hole. Also, Jordan Spieth, 268, using a new putter. Jordan Spieth has gone to a new putter, trying to shake things up a little bit. Jason Day, 1 under, 68 for him. Ernie Els, a 1 under 69. Just some of the others that we like to follow. Back to baseball. Georgia still up on USC 4-0. Bottom of the third. The Gamecocks still looking for their first hit as they go to the fourth now. They've been no hits. Perfect game going for the Georgia pitcher. Let me take a look at him. This is a Georgia team, as I mentioned when we had Mike Morgan on, a Georgia team that is near the bottom of the SEC in almost every major category as a team goes, but has played better of late, coming off a win over Furman the other night, 10-6. Before that, they took 2 out of 3 from Mississippi State. Then they beat Georgia Tech before that. Then they took 2 out of 3 from Kentucky on the road. So they're playing better of late. And it is Andrew Gist, a left-hander, 5'10", 196. I bet you he's one of those soft-throwing left-handers.
Probably.
A lot of junk he's throwing up there, I would imagine, not having a chance to watch it. He's also worked out of the bullpen some this year, but he's got the Gamecocks on their heels here early in this one. Just trying to look up his stats on the season, get my eyes on him real quick. His ERA is not that good. I mean, for that matter, none of them are for Georgia. They don't have that kind of team overall with great numbers.
They might have one now.
Well, he's going to lower.
The light has come on.
He's going to lower that ERA. Here we go. Gist is it's SEC games only. Let me do the overall stats.
While you look at that, that's why I'm saying
I got it. Here we go.
2-4. Wake up.
2-4 with a 4.13 ERA coming in. This is his 11th start. He has worked 65 in the third innings coming in. 74 strikeouts. He's got the most strikeouts on the team to only 18 walks. So he's a good control pitcher. He's allowed 5 home runs. Teams are hitting .263 against him. But he is shutting out the Gamecocks at this point. And so we'll see what happens moving forward.
Well, see, he's getting ahead in the count. If he's getting ahead in the count, then you widen the strike zone. Plus, you against a team that's pressing, and that lends the guys swinging and missing it pitches out of the strike zone.
You know, we're talking about Georgia, and this tells you kind of where South Carolina is right now. Coming into this game, this is for all their games. Georgia is next to last in the SEC in team batting average at .260, but USC is just above it at .264. In terms of the ERA, Georgia is last in the SEC in ERA at 5.05. USC's in the middle at 3.68. In terms of fielding, Georgia is last in the SEC in fielding percentage at .963, having committed a league-high 74 errors, while USC is fourth, having committed just 45 errors. And they're bad in every major category.
No, they were bad. Remember now, I'll never forget when South Carolina lost to Georgia Tech, when Georgia Tech had lost something like what in football, 15 or 16 straight games or whatever. Then that same team woke up, pounded South Carolina, and everybody said, we lost to that team, they're not that good. Next year, they shared the national championship. Colorado, I said that team turned around that day. You never know what team you're playing that particular time.
NC State threatens in the 6th. Tigers get out of it. NC State strands runners on 1st and 2nd, 2-2. As they go to the top of the 7th, Charlie Barnes still on the mound for the Tigers through 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Georgia's still up on USC 4-0 as they go to the top of the 4th inning. All right, that's going to do it. We'll be with you tomorrow night. We'll have the full Monty on NASCAR. We'll do some birdies and bogeys with George Bryan III. See what happens with these baseball games and talk about that and get you ready for the weekend. Thank you, Pat Jack Daniel, for another fine job behind the scenes. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for being with us here on Sports Talk. We'll see you tomorrow night.